The police told us there was no evidence anyone else had been in the forest that night. But what I'm about to tell you, I haven't told anyone in full because I'm not sure it's over yet. If you crave horror that actually gets under your skin, hit subscribe now. Because the stories on this channel aren't just scary. They're original, they're personal, and once you hear them, they don't leave. They follow you. Stay with me until the end. What's waiting for you might be more than just a surprise. There were 5 of us, all 17 or 18, and nothing about that trip was supposed to be dangerous. We weren't going somewhere extreme, just a forest a few hours away, the kind of place people go when they want quiet and no signal for a night. It wasn't even illegal, just unofficial, which made it feel more private. Looking back, the worst part is how normal everything felt at the beginning, because it makes it harder to accept what came after. We arrived just before sunset and found a clearing that looked like it had been used before, although there were no signs of recent activity. No trash, no footprints, nothing left behind, just a space between the trees that felt slightly too still. At the time, I remember thinking it was unusually quiet, but not in a peaceful way. It felt like the kind of quiet you notice when something that should be there isn't, like when a room suddenly goes silent in the middle of a conversation. We set up the tents, made a small fire, and tried to treat it like any other trip. For a while, it worked. We joked around, played music, talked about random things. But every now and then, one of us would stop and look into the trees, like we had all started noticing something without wanting to say it out loud. Jake was the first to actually react to it. He stopped talking mid-sentence and turned his head slightly, focusing on something behind us. When I asked what he heard, he said it sounded like someone walking, but not far away and not in a random pattern. He said it sounded like someone trying not to make noise. We all listened, and for a moment, I heard it too. A slow step, then another, then nothing. It stopped the exact second we paid attention to it. That was the first moment something felt wrong in a way I couldn't explain. We stayed up longer than we planned, mostly because none of us really wanted to be the first one to go to sleep. Eventually, we forced ourselves to act normal and went into the tents. I was with Jake and Ryan. I didn't fall asleep right away. The silence felt too complete, like the forest had emptied itself of everything except us. There were no insects, no distant sounds, nothing to remind me this was a normal place. At some point, I woke up without knowing why, but the moment I opened my eyes, I knew something was off. I could hear footsteps. They were close, right outside the tent. They weren't rushed or uneven. They were slow and controlled, like whoever was moving knew exactly where we were and wasn't in a hurry to reach us. Jake was awake too. I could tell from the way he wasn't moving. The footsteps stopped beside us. Then something brushed lightly against the outside of the tent, not scratching or pushing, but moving across it slowly, like someone running their hand along the surface to understand what was inside. None of us spoke. Then we heard a voice. It said, "Hey." It sounded exactly like Ryan. But Ryan was right next to me. I turned slightly. He was awake, staring at the same spot on the tent wall, his face completely still. The voice came again, asking us to come outside, and there was something deeply wrong about it. Not because it sounded fake, but because it sounded too perfect, like someone had removed all the natural hesitation from a real voice. Jake leaned closer and whispered that we shouldn't respond, and I could hear something in his voice that made it worse. He didn't sound confused, he sounded certain. The thing outside shifted its position, and the fabric pressed inward slightly, just enough to show where it was standing. It stayed there for a long time, completely silent. Then the footsteps started again, moving away from us, heading toward the other tent. A few seconds later, we heard Daniel call out, asking if someone was outside. No one answered. Then there was a short sound, like he had tried to say something and couldn't finish it. After that, there was nothing. We didn't move. We didn't go out. Because by then, it felt like leaving the tent would mean stepping into something that had already decided what would happen next. We waited until morning. When we finally opened the tent, everything looked normal again, but it didn't feel normal anymore. The air felt heavier, and the other tent stood exactly as we had left it, closed and still. When we opened it, it was empty. No signs of movement. No missing items. No disturbance. Just empty. We left immediately after that. The police searched the area and found nothing. No footprints. No evidence. No explanation. Officially, our friends were listed as missing, and that was the end of it. But it didn't end. 3 days later, Jake called me late at night. He told me his mom had woken up because she heard Jake and Ryan outside the house, calling for her to open the door. The problem was, Jake was upstairs in his room at the time. She almost opened it. He stopped her. When I heard that, I told him it was stress, that his mom must have imagined it. Then he said something I couldn't explain. It didn't just sound like me, he said. It sounded like me, trying to sound normal. That night, I didn't sleep. Around the same time as before, I heard something outside my house. Then a voice. My voice. Calling my name from outside my own door. It wasn't distorted. It wasn't unclear. It sounded exactly like me. But the tone was wrong. Too controlled. Too careful. Like something had practiced it. I didn't move. I didn't respond. And after a few seconds, it tried again. Slightly different. Closer to how I actually sound when I speak. I don't know how long I sat there listening to it, but before it stopped, it said something that I know I have never said in my life. Something new. Something it didn't copy. Open the door. I know you're the only one left now. I haven't heard it again since. But every night, around the same time, I still wake up. Not because of a sound, but because of a feeling. Like something is outside, waiting until it gets it exactly right.